All right, Jim Ratcliffe is getting his teeth stuck into all the happenings around Manchester United. And while we're going to improve, hopefully improve what goes on the pitch by improving what happens on the front of office, attention seemingly has turned to Old Trafford. There's a great article in the Telegraph, which I think you should definitely go and check out if you haven't already. But Jim Ratcliffe has a vision, and that involves transforming Old Trafford into the Wembley of the North, which is not a title I really enjoy, to be honest. I just call it, Old Trafford. Because you don't need to, Old Trafford to me was better than Wembley at one point. It no longer is. But let's just make the best, most world-class stadium that we can find. But we need a stadium like that, something that rivals not only what's going on at Wembley, but I think Spurs have also set a bar for just how good a stadium can be in British football. There's also some talk in the article that Jim Ratcliffe might actually even approach the UK government for financial assistance to realise the ambitious plans for a spectacular new Old Trafford. So Radcliffe's 1.03 billion deal for a 28.9% stake in Old Trafford is pending. We've got regulatory approval still required, and accompanied by a guarantee of an additional 237 million for Old Trafford. Now, despite opposition to a relocation, Radcliffe believes that supporters would embrace the idea of a new stadium on the existing land, emphasising the importance of the spiritual home. Now, before we go any further, I'm not one of those. I believe that the grass should stay exactly where it is. And maybe that's me being old-fashioned. Maybe that's me not being forward-thinking enough. The ground gets relayed. It's not the same grass. But you know what? There's something there. I wouldn't want to knock it down completely. You lose the spirit of the place. You lose the feeling of the place. All of those new stadiums, while they're good-looking, they lack soul. And I think Manchester United could keep our soul if we stayed there. But anyway, I'll continue on what the article says. The potential 8-year project that's been outlined in the Telegraph would involve the redevelopment and expansion of the current Old Trafford. So there's some challenges when it comes to the redevelopment. And it's a potential 8-year project that would involve the redevelopment and expansion of the current Old Trafford, which is under consideration. There are concerns about investing in what is an ageing building, which is over 114 years of age, echoing the sentiments expressed by Chris Lee, who is the managing director of Populous. He highlights the possible cost-effective solution of a new build. So plan A is demolish and rebuild. That's the most radical option that's being considered, and it involves demolishing Old Trafford and rebuilding it on the same plot, away from the railway line and the canal. And that looks like it's going to be moved across the car park a little bit. The estimated cost of expanding the current stadium versus building a new one is being discussed. And supposedly Radcliffe and Ineos are engaged in dialogue with local officials, exploring the financial options for a comprehensive regeneration project. Plan B, an alternative option, is to redevelop the South Stand, the stand that's currently just at one tier, utilising modern technology to build over the railway line. And details regarding the total capacity, including executive seats, are provided. Ineos, experienced in large financial details, are engaged in the construction of a new 5 billion chemical plant in Antwerp known as Project One. So they're on the case of large sort of construction projects. In terms of the financials of those and the debt that exists at the club, sources are supposedly emphasising the distinction between a new project that contributes to the future growth and the Glazers' leverage buyout back in 2005. Exploring the financial options, including the creation of a separate stadium development company, is supposedly on the cards for discussion, and a potential new avenue for funding the project. United were excluded from the Euro 2028 hosting. Old Trafford was excluded from the Euro 28 hosting. And that stemmed from mutual agreement between United and the FA due to the potential redevelopment work. Radcliffe's imminent control of football operations and Ineos' broader influence on key decisions, especially regarding Old Trafford, are highlighted in the report, as you can see. Now, there's some quotes that I'm going to read out from this, and I'll give you my thoughts on those. Sources close to Radcliffe told the Telegraph that he feels the club needs an absolute state-of-the-art, knock it out of the park, wow stadium. I'm with you. I'm absolutely with you. And he says, I feel like there's a strong argument for the country having top-class major venue in the north, a Wembley of the north. He also says, insiders have raised concern about the prospect of getting into a situation where the club is throwing good money after bad if they attempt to expand the south stand and develop the other sides. Ultimately, you've still got a 1910 building, is what some have supposedly said. And that does echo the thoughts of, as we said earlier, Chris Lee from Populous, which is an architectural firm that is tasked with overseeing the project. They seem to be of the mind that a new build could turn out to be the most cost-effective solution. The building is reaching the end of its life cycle. The cables, the electricity supplies, everything is nearing its sell-by date, said Lee. The spiritual home is important, sources have said, and they think that fans would be happy to accept a new stadium if we stay where we are. And like I said, moving across the car park, it doesn't feel right to me. The locations of it all would all be different. You know, the walk would be different. I don't know, but I feel like this is leaning towards us having this new built stadium where the car park is, where the membership building currently is. And obviously there's a service road that would have to be demolished for us to do this. But it does seem like it's the sort of thing that they could perhaps start work on while the stadium is still in use, meaning that we maybe don't need to demolish Old Trafford until we could move into the other one. I'm very torn on this. The final word says it shouldn't be a burden on the club because a new stadium should be paying for itself effectively. If you've got 90,000 stadium, you've got 20,000 new people paying for that stadium. The problem with that is 20,000 new people, is an uplift of, a little over 20%, I suppose, or 30% on top of what we're currently getting for the stadium, unless you was introducing a ton of new executives and stuff like that, which is only going to make the atmosphere worse. Yes, you're going to get more on a match day in terms of revenue, but when the costs of a new stadium are probably close to $1 billion, I think it's a while before you're going to actually see all of that come through. I think United's stadium revenue is somewhere in the region of like 50 million a year. It's like 2 million a home game, something like that. The last time I saw, could be wrong on that one. How that equates to $1 billion. So it's a long time to start paying that off, but this feels like it's going to happen. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments. How do you see this going? Would you rather we moved, or would you rather they redevelop? Because these reports to me suggest it's going to be a demolish and rebuild. See you in the next one. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.